right, welcome once again. My name is Cameron Dunlap, and I'm your host, and this is another in my series of Deal Maker webinars. Tonight's a very special one, and I'm glad you've joined me. We have a ton of people on here, and I'm sure a ton more yet to come because of the number of registrations that I just saw as I started the webinar. But this is a very different webinar than what I normally do. Our normal Deal Maker webinars happen on the first and third Tuesday night of the month. This being, of course, the third Tuesday night in January. I hope I'm correct about that. I'm quite sure. Let's see. Yeah, yes. So today is the third Tuesday in January. We do these Deal Maker webinars on the first and third Tuesday nights of the month, and it is here that we typically do deal analysis. We talk about marketing and working with realtors and funding and private lenders, residential properties, commercial properties, all of that. Everything real estate related happens here with me personally and live, like we are right now on my Deal Maker webinars. And I've been doing them for years, and we have an archive of them. In fact, this is being recorded, although this will be archived in 2 locations. But we have an archive of those calls going back up to 4 years at any given time. So this is a great place for you to come to get your real estate questions answered. However, tonight is a special Deal Maker webinar where I'm going to do my goal setting and accomplishment workshop. I do this once a year. I do it in January because I think at the beginning of the year is the best time to focus on goals and realigning them and really gearing up to do the things we need to do to accomplish them. I'm an extremely goal-oriented guy. I always have been, and so I know what it's done for me and my family and my business, and so I like to share what I know, what I've learned, and about goals and accomplishing them. And I do this webinar on an annual basis. And you're potentially someone who normally does not attend the Deal Maker webinars because they are not open to the public. However, this one tonight, and we do this once a year, we do open this up to the public. So if you're a part of my regular Deal Maker webinars, welcome back. If you're not, welcome to you. And I am very excited to dig into this because it's a big part of being successful, and that is being goal oriented. And I think a lot of people overlook the importance of setting and tracking and accomplishing your goals, but obviously not you, or you wouldn't be here. So again, welcome. We will get started momentarily. I can see there's a ton of people that have come on just since I started talking just moments ago. Welcome. Look at all that. There's like 7 Brians. Hello, Brians. There's a bunch of Chris's and Carols. Dave, Davids, Deanne, Dennis, Don, Donovan, Doug, Dwayne, Ed, Edward, Ed, Eric, Eureka, Frank, several Franks, Felipe, Gloria, Fred, Harvey, Henry, Janice, Jarrett, Jean, Jim, Joe, John, there's so many Johns I can't even begin. John Kubis, whoa, there's a name I haven't seen in a long time. Hey, John, how are you? An old friend of mine there. Good for you. Glad you're here. Kelly, Ken, Leo, Lynn, MB, whoever that is. Mark, Marcy, Marcus, Marilyn, Marlando. Hey, Marlando. Got you on my calendar for tomorrow. Michael, Mike. Milo, I hope I said that right. Milo or Millo. Hello. I hope I said that right. Mindy, Monica, Murray, Merlin. I see a lot of familiar names and some I don't recognize. If I didn't read your name, sorry. I'm just sort of scrolling through as the list continues to grow and more and more folks come on board. I'm trying to. There's Rako. Rako's a regular. Hey. Richard, Rick, Robert, Roland, Russell, Serge, Sean, Sheila, Sherry, Steve, uh, Tashani, hope I said that right, Texie, Thomas, Tim, Todd, Tom, Vernon, Veronica, Vornay, Walter, Wendy, and everybody else who jumped on before I started reading names. Anyway, welcome again to all of you. I'm thrilled you're here. It's the beginning of a new year, and that's exciting. It's like, clean slate. We got another shot at it. So let's get going here. This is, again, my special annual goal setting and accomplishment workshop. Today is January 17th, 2017. And it's time to set and accomplish our goals. Let's talk about that. So, first of all, briefly, for those of you that don't know me, just a quick rundown of who am I. Well, again, my name is Cameron Dunlap, and I've been a full-time real estate investor since 1993. If you do the math, that's a long time. I've been at it, well, frankly, longer than anything else I've done in my life. I've stuck to it. And you bet, when I started out, I was flat broke. But I had, fortunately for me at the time, I had a little bit of freedom. I was brand new married, had no children, and had a wife who was willing to support me until I got my legs under me. So, yeah, we were broke when I got started, but we're not anymore. I've wholesaled, rehabbed, rented, owned, or financed, developed, and funded hundreds and hundreds of properties all across the USA. I've got deals going in, 3 states right now. Used to be 4, 3 at the moment, but that's cool. And, so I'm up to my eyeballs in deals and frankly love it. I've been teaching proven strategies and creating powerful tools since 1995. It was then that a great friend of mine, whose name is Carlton Sheets, invited me to go to one of his seminars as his guest, and in exchange for running the cassette tape recorder in the back of the room, believe it or not. And out of the blue, with no warning, no preparation whatsoever, he asked me to come up to the front of the room and talk about a deal that I had recently done to the class. And I was scared to death, and picturing everybody in their underwear like you're supposed to. And I guess Carlton said to himself and to me later that they understood me. I was clear and made sense, and he then asked me to do more and more, and here I am all these years later, 21 years later since that took place. Carlton's still a great friend of mine, and I'm very thankful to him. He was a mentor to me. It remains a mentor to me in many ways. 2 big sides to my business. One is the asset side, where I buy, sell, fix, develop, wholesale, hold and rent, all sorts of properties. Even as recently as June 30th of this year, I opened a brand new Best Western Plus hotel. And we just won an award just the other day for being the number one in overall service in the Northeast region. That's out of 320 hotels. And our breakfast scored number 1 out of 2,020 Best Westerns in the United States. Imagine that. 2 sides to my business. The asset side, where I do my real estate business, and then I have the other side where I continue on a daily basis. In fact, we're going to be launching at least 3 new really, really powerful tools in 2017. On top of everything else that we offer our clients, all of our software, our data products, our funding, our no-fee funding, our consulting, our mentorship partnership programs, and the very few live events that we do. And so that's the other half. So I've really focused on and developed those 2 businesses over the last couple of decades, and have grown them into something quite substantial, and am now frankly responsible for the financial well-being of about 45 people, which I'm okay with. I wake up in the morning and I feel really good about that. And I've been married to my wife Helen since 1993. We're going to have our 24th wedding anniversary this summer in August. Pretty exciting stuff. She's my first and last wife. And then my daughter Nicole, who is 17 and is nearly done with her getting her pilot's license. Pretty exciting for this pilot dad, and it's something she wanted to do very badly. I didn't push her at all. And there's a quick picture of me and my wife and daughter, and Nicole, certainly the apple of our eyes. We'd have more kids if we could, and I assure you it's not for lack of trying, but that's how it all worked out for us, so we figure we're the luckiest folks in the world. All right, let's get on with it. The importance of goals. Why are goals so important to you and to me? Well, they give you a great sense of direction. And the reason for that is because you know your destination. So when I go somewhere in my airplane, I know where I'm going. My destination is very clear. And I then create a flight plan to get from here to there. And I know along the way some things may change, winds may be a little different. I may have turbulence at this altitude and change to that altitude. And you know where you're going, you have your direction, you know how you're going to get there, presumably. And yeah, there's some changes along the way, but if you stick to it, you get to your destination. And that's one of the big reasons why goals are so important. They give you a sense of purpose. When you wake up in the morning, you know that you've got some important stuff to do today, and that's a big deal for some folks, and it's important. Goals give you something to stretch for, and everybody needs that. My wife has been brilliant in terms of that for me, where every time it's been time for us to move or to buy or find another house, she's always said, "No, come on, we can do better than that. Let's take it up a notch." And she's been a great source of motivation. She pushes me, and I like that. Goals give you something positive to focus on. We need positive stuff in our life. Lord knows there's plenty of negative junk out there, so let's get into something positive. Goals force you to ask yourself the right questions. We're going to talk about that in detail. The right questions, not the wrong ones. And there are all sorts of goals. There are many types, and I've listed a few here, and I'm sure that you will have others that are personal to you. Career goals, financial goals, family, health and fitness, and spiritual goals. All of that is important to us in some proportion. Everyone's priorities that they put on those items are different, of course, but we're all the same in that most of those things are important to all of us, and then there are others, like I said, that may be very personal, that are important to you and aren't so typical, and that's all good. All right, so where are you in your life? And the big question that I'd like to ask to lead us to the answer to where are you in your life is, who are you hanging with? Who are you spending your time with? Do the people in your world support you? Are they helping to pull you up the ladder or push you up the ladder, or are they more like cinder blocks tied to your ankle while you're trying to climb that ladder? It's pretty amazing too, and I'm sure you can identify with this, but we all have friends and family members and coworkers that are very comfortable with where we are right now. And in fact, some, not all, but some will work hard to keep us there where we are, where they're comfortable with us being. They'll work hard to keep us there consciously and unconsciously, overtly and covertly. So here's what I mean. We all have friends and family who will say things like, why can't you just work a job like everyone else? Or why do you have to have that? Or why is that so important to you? Or, why won't you come out drinking with us? Or why aren't you going to do this or do that with us? You might have a different set of plans. And frankly, there are friends and family members in your world who will literally and maybe covertly and unconsciously try to sabotage you, because they know, in either consciously or unconsciously, they know that if your life improves, if you take it to the next level and they don't, they will feel bad about themselves. And it's easier for a lot of folks, at least in their subconscious minds, to sabotage you rather than to get up off the couch and go do something themselves. It's pretty sad. So we really need to eliminate toxic people, toxic activities, and toxic habits. We all, as human beings, we have habits, and yours are different than mine, and mine are different than yours, and that's fine. But your life will ultimately be defined by your habits. Yeah, who you're hanging around with is very important, and the activities that you partake in are in large part a result of your habits. So if you have a process of personal development, this will help to condition you to recognize, understand, and resist the toxic influences in your life. If you don't have a process of personal development, if personal development, growth and development isn't a high priority for you, you may not recognize, or you may subconsciously ignore, the toxic influences in your life. Here's a great saying that I heard someone say years ago that has sort of stuck in my mind. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That one, if you write nothing else down during this presentation, you might want to write that down. And be sure and do it in the first person. I'm the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Or I'm the average of the 5 people I spend the most time with. There you go. Sorry. In the first person. And by the way, if you haven't already grabbed a pen and a pad, I would suggest you do that, because there might be a couple of ideas in here you want to write down. So what is your why? What's the reason why you want what you want? Why do you want that? And what will you do with it when you get it? So you know what you want. That's great. Okay, once you achieve that, you acquire that, you become that, what will you do with it? What good will you do with it? Who will you impact when you achieve your goals and realize your dreams? How hard are you willing to work for it? Sadly, there are a lot of people in this world and in this country who want big things but are completely and utterly unwilling to work for them, and sadly think they should be handed to them. So I hope that doesn't include you. I hope you're not part of that problem, because it is a giant problem, and we as a nation face that problem. What are you willing to give up to get it? What are you willing to sacrifice? If you asked me what I've that's handy, isn't it? If you asked me, what I've sacrificed along the way, I would tell you all sorts of things. I mean, I'm a dad, and I pride myself on being a pretty darn good dad. And I'm at a lot of stuff that my daughter, in support of my daughter, where I see very few other dads. So I know, I'm an involved dad, but let's face it, over the years, I've missed some soccer games and some dance recitals because, I've got big goals, and those goals have a positive impact on this family. So, if you're not willing to work hard and you're not willing to sacrifice, it's very unlikely you're going to achieve your goals. What new habits or rituals are you willing to develop and give up? Habits and rituals maybe that are toxic. Good ones to develop and bad ones to give up. Which of those are you willing to do to get what you want? And what changes in you are you willing to make? The way you think, who you spend your time with, your habits and rituals, all of those things. What changes are you willing to make? Now, a lot of us have very, very limiting beliefs. And these are personal, and many of them are going to have a huge impact on us, or have had a huge impact on us our whole lives. In some cases, these negative or limiting beliefs that were programmed from early childhood and then reinforced throughout the educational experience, or in some cases indoctrination, and then reinforced through religious experiences, or dare I say indoctrination, and then further reinforced by the aha, see, they were right moments. So in other words, you might think that rich people are greedy, or you might say the words filthy rich to yourself. Well, that's early programming that's still in your head, that was probably reinforced through your educational experience and continues to be reinforced through your religious experiences. And then when you see a rich person who is greedy, or you don't like them for whatever your reason, your conscious or subconscious mind says, boom, you were right, you were right. And we as humans are just dying to be right. So some examples, like I said, wealthy people are greedy. These are limiting beliefs. Wealthy people are mean, are dishonest, have no empathy. Or this is an awful one, and it's so dead wrong. That the belief that in order for you to be rich, that requires someone else to be poor. That's what they call zero-sum thinking, and success is not a zero-sum game. For you to be rich does not and will not require someone to be poor. In fact, if you look at wealth like a giant river that you're standing on the bank of, and you have a bucket in your hand, and you want to get as many buckets of that water as you can, that's what wealth is like, because there's plenty. There's so much, it's beyond comprehension. If you take 1,000 buckets out of that river as fast as you can, you're not going to change a thing. It's going to keep flowing. It's not going to get any narrower or shallower. You don't have it. It's impossible for you as an individual to create a situation where it's a zero-sum game. And honestly, the wealthy spread and create wealth around them. And I can give you a perfect example of that. A few days ago, I had some work done on my house, and I wrote a guy a check, and it was a fair price for a good job done. And I know he told me that what I paid him for that literally made his month. And the fact that I could afford to do that work, the fact that aspect of my house being kept up and maintained at that level is a function of wealth that I possess, but I'm sharing it, I'm spreading it. And here's the thing, we are all the nucleus of our own personal economy. And you could be a panhandler who lives in the street, but when you spend the $2 you have, you just shared the wealth. And or you could be a billionaire and own 10 houses, 3 airplanes, and who knows what. And just the mere fact that you're maintaining those, and you're buying and selling things that are required as you get it. I'm sure you understand me. You're the nucleus of your own economy, and it's, I believe, incumbent on you to grow that economy so that you have a positive impact on more people. The wealthier you become, the more of a positive impact you have on the people around you, because you have no choice but to spread that wealth, because just the way you live your life will spread that wealth. Some people believe that wealth is preordained. Oh, I wasn't meant to be rich. That is a statement that does not serve you. It is not preordained, at least not in America. Or some people think wealth is a matter of luck. Yeah, you know what I found out? The harder I work, the luckier I get. I don't think there's any luck involved. I mean, now if you happen to be, Donald Trump's son, okay, he's a member of the Lucky Sperm Club. Okay, I'll give you that. Or if you win the Powerball, lottery, okay, there's some luck involved in that. Those are extreme examples, but the reality is, becoming wealthy yourself is not a matter of luck. Do you believe in self-reliance? Are you willing to do what you need to do and not, expect a handout? Or are you someone who feels entitled to things? That's a scary thing. Do you believe that in America success is available to anyone who desires it and works hard for it? I do. I absolutely do. And here's the thing: if you've got limiting beliefs, you need to change them. But changing them requires that you admit to yourself that you are wrong about them, dead wrong about them. Remember, I said everybody, we're just dying to be right. Well, in order to change your limiting beliefs, you have to believe in your heart of hearts you are wrong about some aspect of your belief system. And until you do, those beliefs are not going to change. Got to be willing to be okay with being wrong. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so what are some interesting ways to improve yourself? Well, intentionally be around successful people. Ask them how they did it. If you're nice about the way you ask, many of them will be happy to talk to you about how they've created great things in their life. That's one of the things I continue to do. I find ways to surround myself with people who are substantially more successful than myself, and I ask the right questions of them, and they share little nuggets that affect me in many, many ways. Be a student of success. Don't envy it, desire it. I had a great teaching moment with my daughter when she was about 10 years old. We were at Walmart and here locally, and I at the time had a Mercedes, a nice car, and we went into the store, came out. When we came out, someone had walked by the car and spit on it, and I mean, really gave it the business right on the driver's side window, about 6 inches from where my face would be if I got in the car. So I happened to have a rag and some Windex in the trunk. I got it out. I cleaned it off. I was repulsed by it. My daughter stood there and watched me, and she said, "Dad, why would someone do that?" And I said, "Well, this is a nice car, and whoever did this is envious. And by the way, envy is one of the 7 deadly sins." Um, and I explained the difference to her between envy and desire. I said, when I was younger, I would see a fancy car and I wouldn't say, "Oh, that person's filthy, rich, mean," and go up and spit on it. That's envy. What I would do is say to myself, "Oh, I like that car. What do I need to do to get one of those? How can I have one of those? How can I drive one of those?" And the difference between envy and desire is profound. However, I'm not sure that everyone understands that. And I know there's a lot of envy out there in our world right now. Here's a great way to improve yourself. Believe in your heart of hearts that if he or she can do it, so can you. Have that realization, have that moment. And where I see that a lot is at we do 3 or 4 events a year. We call them the Vacant House and Foreclosure Summit. And I see people there having that aha moment when they're maybe new to the real estate investing business, and they meet someone at the event who's been at it for a while and who's successful. And they'll have a conversation with them. It might be a few minutes, might be longer. And during that conversation, they come to the realization that there's really nothing special about that person, or any more special about that person than is special about me. And if he or she can do it, so can I. And that realization, that moment, can be literally an apex in your life, where you walk away from that realization a completely changed person. I see that happening at those events. It's really profound. You should deliberately seek and observe the things that inspire you, like big houses, airplanes, cars, boats, schools, charities, or whatever. And it isn't all about material things. It's about it's about your why. What is it you want, and why do you want it? Now that you know what you want and why you want it, find some way to get close to it so that you can observe it personally with your own eyes, not in a picture or on television, although that's useful, and we'll talk more about that, but literally in person. And I'll tell you something, when I travel to Florida, and I'm down there a fair amount, especially this time of year, I'll take an hour and I'll just go and drive through a neighborhood of, the most spectacular homes. And what that does for me is it stokes the fire. It stokes the fire. I go there, I see it, I observe it, I breathe it in. I just smell the smells, and it just stokes the fire within me. Ask yourself the right questions repeatedly, and they almost always start with how. So let's talk about the right questions and the wrong questions for you to be asking yourself and others. The right questions, again, almost always start with how. Like, How can I? How will I? How does it? How will it? How are they? How am I going to? How is it going to? Those types of questions empower you. The wrong questions almost always start with the word why. Why can't I? Why won't it? Why does it always? Why won't he? Why won't she? Why won't it? Why doesn't it? The wrong questions almost always start with why. And what's the big difference between the right and wrong questions? Here it is. I'll do it in reverse order. The wrong questions that start with why give you subconsciously permission to create and accept an excuse. Why can't I? And so or maybe a better word for excuse would be blame. So when you ask a question that starts with the word why, you give yourself permission to blame something or someone else. Why can't I? Well, it's because of that. So you gave yourself permission to blame, and now once you place the blame, you get a sense of perverse, frankly, satisfaction that does not serve you. So you say, why can't I? It's because of that. You gave yourself permission to place blame. You created an excuse that you're now willing to accept, and you can go back to, being right. The questions that start with how empower you to seek the answer. How can I? What that gives you permission to do is turn on your creative switch and come up with the answer. How can I? How will I? How will it? How, all of the how questions that are so important. I learned this a long time ago, and no one ever taught me this. This is something I completely discovered on my own. I can remember how questions from years ago that were based in my reality then, and my how questions today, although similar, are at a much, much higher level. Much higher level. Why questions? You give yourself permission to go lay back on the couch and turn football back on and grab another beer. And that is not how you're going to accomplish your goals. How questions are how you're going to accomplish your goals. So, ways to improve yourself, some very deliberate thinking. Successful people choose what they think about. Unsuccessful people are victims of random thoughts. By the way, you'd be surprised who I'm quoting here with these words. He is, as of today, he's the president-elect. I actually shared the stage with him one time, and he said those words to the audience, and I thought, that's profound because, basically what he said was, think about what you're thinking about and be deliberate. Your quiet time in your head is productive, very useful time. Use it wisely. So think about what you're thinking about. And then when negative thoughts come into your head, replace them immediately with some sort of positive affirmation. This is something I've been doing for well over 20 years. And this is my all-time favorite, thing to say to myself. It's a positive affirmation, if you will, a mantra. I say, I deserve to be healthy, wealthy, and happy. I have literally said that to myself 20, 30, 50 times a day for more than 20 years. And by the way, anytime a negative thought creeps into my head, I recognize that, I stop, and I say that to myself, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times until I get rid of that negative thought and I move on to thinking about something else that serves me. I deserve to be healthy, wealthy, and happy. If you've been hanging around me for any period of time, I'm sure you're familiar with that little mantra. Never allow yourself to be discouraged for long. If something gets you down, then plug in a positive affirmation, think about what you're thinking about, and move on. So here's a question. What do you do with your downtime? Well, a lot of us have hobbies and things that we do that make us happy. I suggest that you take some of that time and some read books, read the right books. Successful people read, and I'm not talking about fiction. I've got a list a little later. Unsuccessful people don't read at all. With the whole Kindle revolution, whether you've got a Kindle unit or an iPad, you can get the Kindle app. There's no reason you can't have a great book with you at any, at your at an arm's length away, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. And if you've got a little downtime, dig back into it. And I'll tell you what, I have not read a fiction book um, in probably close to 20 years. The last one I read was The Bridges of Madison County, and I read it because my wife insisted I do, and it was awesome. It was a phenomenal book. But I read nonfiction. I read books about self-improvement, about business, about scaling, about things that are going to help move me in the direction I want to move. I think fiction is fine, but I personally am not going to make the time for that. It's not a priority for me. Be willing to listen and be taught by the experts. Be trainable. One of the reasons that I've been successful in a lot of areas of my life is because I frankly pride myself on being trainable. I look for a mentor anytime I enter into something new or I want to take something to the next level. I look for someone who's there or multiple people who are there who will show me the way, show me the path of least resistance. They love it, and I get to where I'm going more quickly. Be willing to ask for, and when it's warranted, pay for help. So I have a great example of this, a recent example. I decided a couple of years ago now to develop a new hotel. I won't bore you with all the process. Frankly, it took 3.5 years from the first meeting at my conference table to the day we actually opened our doors. And a lot happened along the way that led me to the very simple conclusion that I needed help. And I was certainly going to need help operating this hotel because I'm not a hotel guy. This is my first hotel, although I can tell you now I know an awful lot now. So I made a couple of decisions early on. Number one, I wanted it to be a branded hotel. I did my homework. And decided to buy into the Best Western program, and I decided to build a Best Western Plus. So there's 3 levels. There's Best Western, Plus, and Premier. That decision was $60,000, but what it bought me was, a level of direction, expertise, and professionalism that I could not have possibly brought to the table myself without being willing to ask and pay for help. 60 grand, and basically they created the path and now are my insurance policy against failure. And then I made another decision. I hired a management company. Now, how long our relationship will last, I don't know, but we're 6 months or 5.5 months in, and I'm glad they're there. I'm glad they're watching the finer details that I would miss or that I wouldn't even know what to look for. I've learned a ton from them about the day-to-day management of a hotel, and that's 4% of the gross income. So yeah, I mean, even at this stage in my life, I am more than happy, more than willing to ask for and pay for help. And I hope you are too. Be willing to consider new ways of thinking and new ways of doing things because in fact your way may have been the best way, in the past, but it may not be the best way now, and you need to be open to the idea that there might be a better way to go about doing that. And for me, I have a friend, one of the smartest people I know. We were together somewhere and he turned and he looked at me and he said, "You're an optimizer." And I was like, "What?" He said, yeah, you, everything you do. He said, I've known the guy for 30 years. And he just came to this realization and sort of pointed it out to me not a lot long ago, maybe 6 months ago. And he said, you're an optimizer. You try to improve on everything you do, everything. And I said, yeah, you're right. Hadn't really thought about it that way. And so I guess that mindset is what keeps me open to the idea that there's a better way. There's always a better way. And I'm not just open to it. I spend my entire day looking for it because I know that the better way is better for everybody and everything. So that's me, and I hope you can be similar to that, because now you're open-minded and you're willing to be taught. You're trainable. Focus on your strengths, what you're good at and what you like to do, and then delegate your weaknesses. Those are the things that you're not good at or you don't like to do. I can give you a long list of things that I completely stink at, and those are the things that I don't do. I have someone else to do them for me. And the things that I'm really good at and love to do, oh boy, I focus on that. I mean, that's kind of the ultimate scenario where you can focus on what you love to do and what you're good at, and not worry about the stuff you're not good at because you were wise enough to delegate it. And that's a great way to grow, is to first of all decide on what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then delegate. And I'll tell you, a lot of entrepreneurs have a hard time delegating because they believe that no one can do it as well as they can. So they better just do everything themselves, even if they stink at it. Well, that is a trap, a giant trap. So we all know that the world and technology and finance and opportunity, that all of that moves at lightning speed. So, if you're doing things and you're not willing, or you're not changing what you're doing, if you're not optimizing what you're doing, you are absolutely falling behind. And someone who is willing to change and who is optimizing is going to pull right in front of you. Be willing to expand your mind and your comfort zone, because once you expand your comfort zone, it will never go back to its original size. So how do we do that? Well, let's take a look at this. Is an interesting sort of graphic to give you an example of what I mean. So here, this black outer box here that I'm pointing at with my cursor are what are represented in this illustration as your actual limitations as a human being and as an American, and so these are your real limitations. But this box here it represents your perceived limitations. So you think that this is about as far as you can go with whatever it is you want to do. But in reality, you can go to here, but you don't believe it, you don't understand it. And so this is sort of the unsuccessful person trapped in their narrow little comfort zone. And you know someone like that. And I'll refer to them here as the thousandaire. So how do you expand your comfort zone? Well, in 6 words, real simple. Do things you've never done before. When you do things you've never done before, it's a little scary, but it's inevitable that you'll get good at those things. We get good at anything we do over and over again, and that doesn't require talent. Talent is like Tiger Woods, where he's so good it's redonkulous. But even if you're having fun as a golfer and maybe you're not winning the Masters, you're certainly getting better the more you do it. That's true of anything and everything in our lives. So do things you've never done before. And then when you expand your comfort zone, it will never shrink again, because this is now your reality. I mean, think about someone who's extraordinarily successful, and think about, what's in their reality. They climb into a super fancy car and they pull out of a garage in a super crazy nice house. They have tax situations, they've got businesses they're running, they've got paychecks that are more than maybe a typical person makes in a year. That's their reality. There's no reason that can't be your reality. You just need to expand your comfort zone, do things you've never done before, and when you expand it now to this level, it'll never go back. But there's still so much more. But hey, this is a great step in the right direction. This is the more successful person, or the millionaire. Now you've got, you think about the things and you do the things and you respond to the things and you enjoy the things that this person does because their reality is all the way out to here. And then this is the ultimate, where your perceived limitations are as close as could be to your actual limitations, where your reality is this big. And this is the most successful person, that multimillionaire or billionaire. There's nothing to prevent you from getting from here to here or here if you will expand your comfort zone. I'm expanding my comfort zone every day. I'm doing things. I'm pushing the limits. I'm asking the right questions every day. And you know what? It's what gets me out of bed in the morning. I'm so excited every day. I'm like, golly, I learned something new today, or I crossed a new threshold, or we had a new breakthrough, or some new realization or aha moment. Those are all the things that expand your comfort zone. So, to get to the next level, don't ever stop the personal improvement process. It's a lifestyle choice. Decide to constantly improve on you. Don't let success make you complacent. So when things start going your way, don't kick back and say, yeah, buddy, now it's on autopilot. No. No. There's always more for you to be doing to protect your situation and to continue to grow it. Be okay with being a mentor once you're qualified. And you know what? That's one of the greatest ways to give back. That's one of the sources of the greatest joy in my life, is giving back and helping people get what they want out of their lives. This webinar is a tiny little example of that. If you walk away from this with one nugget, just one little nugget that makes a difference in your life, that gives me great joy. I was at a huge arena event years ago in the 90s in West Palm Beach, Florida, and there was a guy there named Zig Ziglar, who I'm sure most of you have heard of, and sadly he's not with us anymore, but profound guy, and he made a big difference in my life with one thing that he said, if not several, but one that really stuck with me. He said, if you help other people get what they want out of their lives, you'll have everything in the world you ever desired. And I am frankly living proof that is true. Be open to seeing opportunity, but don't let opportunities become a distraction. See, there are people who suffer from what is very commonly called the shiny object syndrome. The shiny object syndrome. So that's like the dog who's chasing the squirrel through your backyard until it sees a raccoon, and then it goes after that, and then it sees a car, and then it goes after that, and the next shiny object that hits that dog's eye, it's going after. And sadly, it isn't going to catch any one of those things. Now, I'm not so sure I want my dog catching a squirrel or a raccoon in my yard. It's an example, maybe a terrible one, but I think you probably know what I mean. Maybe you know someone in your life who is extraordinarily unsuccessful because they can never follow through and finish anything or really get good at any one thing. They're always so busy going to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing that they never bother to get really, really good, and they don't, persevere. So the shiny object syndrome, when you see something shiny and you stop what you're doing and go after it, is kind of like asking why questions. Now, the shiny object gives you an excuse for not having been successful with the last shiny object. It gives you permission to move on. And I'll tell you what, every one of you guys on here with me know just exactly how fast this life is going by. we don't have time for the shiny object syndrome. You get stuck in that, you'll be laying on your deathbed having really accomplished little, if anything, in your life. And that's a sad place to be. Don't get sucked in by the shiny object syndrome. Now, I went backwards here because I want to touch on this point here. Vertical opportunities are a powerful way to leverage your efforts without suffering from the shiny object syndrome. So what I mean by that is simply this. 24 years ago, I made a decision to go into real estate investing. I quit my job. I proposed to my now wife. I bought a course on television, Carlton Sheets program, and on a wing and a prayer, we moved 1,000 miles to Florida. I had a couple of dollars in my pocket from one rehab that I did in Rochester, New York, and on a wing and a prayer, we went down there, and I said, I'm going to be a real estate investor. And 24 years later, I am. And along the way, I had a set of blinders on that helped me to say no, not ignore, because I can't ignore shiny objects, but say no to them all these years and focus on being a real estate investor. Now, the areas that are verticals for me are, like, for example, the vacant house data feed. That was a project to develop, but it mostly came from a desire to help me be a more effective and successful real estate investor. And this is an example of, over the years, probably, I don't know, dozens of tools like that I've developed with the intent of them helping me become more successful. And then once we got them to a place that they met my, my qualifications, we went ahead and made that available to other people as well. And that became a vertical business, but real estate. So yeah, I've grown multiple businesses, but they're all focused around real estate. So if someone says to me, I'm at a cocktail party or a fundraiser or whatever, they'll say, hey, what do you do? And I get that all the time. And I'll say, well, I'm in the real estate business. And I say, I've got, kind of two things I focus on. One are my assets, investments. I buy, I sell, I develop, I rehab, and I do all sorts of stuff. I flip houses, like the TV show. But then I also have a business where I provide software, data products, funding, and specialized funding, consulting, coaching, things like that for other real estate investors. So two parts of one business, all focused on real estate. And there it is. That was my elevator speech of what I do for a living, and it makes sense. And it is devoid of the shiny object syndrome. So, I hope that helps clarify that, and I hope you don't suffer from it. So how do you identify and set your goals? Well, first you got to decide exactly what you want and be specific. Clarity is key. The more specific you are when you set your goals or you decide on what it is you want to accomplish, down to the most granular level, that specific, the more likely it is that you'll achieve it, or whatever that thing is, it'll become you or yours. Clarity is the key. And always aim beyond what you think you can do. So if you think you can do, X, aim for Y or Z. The old saying is, if you aim for the stars and you only make the moon, well, you did well. Get photographs of what you want. Now, this is in addition to going and sort of being in the presence of what you want. Remember, we talked about that. So get a photo of what you want and put it somewhere where you'll see it over and over and over and over. And then put your goals in writing. So let's be specific too. And when I say writing, I think there's something to this physiology of, like, a pen or a pencil on paper. And let's be specific and let's use the present tense. I earn, or I want to earn. I am. I enjoy. Not I will, but I do. So use the present tense. And so now, if you have your goals, and first of all, if you have great clarity and you've aimed high, you've got images to bring your mind back to that goal constantly throughout the day, and you have these in writing, the chances of you accomplishing your goals are through the roof. So on my desktop, on the computer I'm sitting in front of right now, it's a laptop computer. My desktop image it's constantly changing because I have this new goal. I got this thing that I'm after, and I have it on my phone too. I have it on my my home and lock screen images on my phone. So I'm seeing this image over and over and over, and I'm here to tell you, every time I see it, I can actually feel it sinking in. I'm like, oh yeah, and I'll stare at it for a minute, and I'll look at some of the detail of it, the finer detail of it. And I have never done that, and I've been doing it for years. I have never done that and it not work. There are very few things that are for sure in life, and you've heard the old saying, right? Death and taxes. Well, if you get a picture of what you want, and you find a way, and it's easy now with our laptop, our computers and our phones. You put that image in front of your eyes 5, 10, 20 times a day, you will achieve that. It's that sure. And I'm sure there's people on here right now that are nodding with me saying, yeah, I've done it. I know it's true. It works. It really does. And then set a deadline for your goals, because without a deadline, it's really kind of more of a wish. So whatever, when I'm setting a goal, I always have a by such and such a date. And what that does is it puts a little back pressure on, it pushes back a little bit, so it's healthy pressure. And then if you're inclined, share your goals verbally with like-minded folks, not dream stealers, not someone who's going to laugh at you when you tell them what your goal is. Someone who's going to say, dang, that's awesome, man. I love it. I love it. In fact, you've just inspired me. That's the type of person you want to share your goals with. That's another thing I see at our vacant house and foreclosure summits. I literally witness people sharing their goals with other people in the room, because they're in a space full of people, like-minded, kindred spirits, and they feel really comfortable and supported. And there's nobody in the room who's going to laugh at your goal if you're in a room full of people like that. It's profound for me to see, and it works. Take some time to examine what you have already accomplished in your life and give yourself credit for it. If you're on here with me right now, I hope, give yourself credit for having done a lot of pretty darn amazing things in your life. You wouldn't be here right now if you haven't. So give yourself credit. Take stock in that, because you should feel good about, how far you've come. You may have a long way to go in your eyes, but feel good about how far you've come, and give yourself permission to succeed. You are worthy. That's why that saying that I say to myself all the time, I deserve to be healthy, wealthy, and happy. I came up with that mantra years ago with the help of Tony Robbins in one of his programs I had. And it wasn't in the program. What was in the program was some guidance to come up with it on my own. And what I decided then, and frankly still to some degree today, was that I had a little bit of a worthiness issue. I knew I wanted great things, but in my subconscious mind, I felt this sense of unworthiness. So that's why that mantra says, I deserve to be. That's me telling myself I am worthy. And I think we could all use a little of that. So some specific action steps. Look at those photos 5, 10, 20 times a day. Hold yourself accountable. And if you have a real problem with that, maybe you need to help and find someone to hold you accountable. Stop blaming others for who knows what. It's time to take control, be self-reliant, and Stop blaming others and get on with it. Get it done. And then start. Do something now. Do something every day. No, you'll never know it all. No, there'll never be a perfect time to start other than today. So it's sort of, or if not today, 20 years ago. That's the old, oak tree saying. When is the best time to plant an oak tree? 20 years ago is the best time. However, if you didn't do that, well then today. If not 20 years ago, if not prior to now, today is the best time to plant that oak tree. Take responsibility for your actions and your inaction. That's part of holding yourself accountable. Break your goals down into daily, weekly tasks, and I'll do this in just a moment as an example. Leverage technology. You've got to take advantage of the technology. If it's daunting to you, if you're not a computer person or you're not a techie, then there's one of your weaknesses. You need to delegate. Don't hide from it. Don't poo-poo it. Don't put it down. Get help if it isn't something you enjoy. I see this a lot. I'll give you a specific example. There's a guy, I'm on the board of trustees for a museum here. And there's a member of that board who is, he's an older guy, certainly, but he absolutely refuses to embrace any sort of technology beyond his ultra-modern flip phone. He doesn't email. He doesn't have a computer. He doesn't know what the internet is. He doesn't care, and he thinks it's stupid. Now, do you think that kind of thinking serves him? Do you think that kind of thinking gives him credibility? Do you think that kind of thinking garners respect? Yeah. No. So, and this guy's a successful guy. He's retired now, but, get a personal assistant. You can afford it, man. You're missing half of what's going on here. The world is flying by you, and not only are you missing it, you don't even know it's happening, man. So if technology is not your thing, then delegate it. Don't dismiss it. And let's scale and maybe into additional markets. So you heard me say that I've over the last several years, I've been working in four markets, scaled back to 3 with the sale of a recent sale of a significant asset. Although I'll still do stuff there because I have family there. But I'm in multiple markets. I learned a long time ago that to grow my business, to a level that I saw in my big picture was going to take more than just little old country bumpkin upstate New York where I am now. It wasn't going to work. So maybe look at additional markets. A lot of our clients are doing that, and a lot of the software and data products that we provide are what make it not just possible, but easy. Compartmentalize your time. This is a big deal, and I still have to, really make an effort to do this. This does not come naturally for me, but I know that I've seen, unlimited evidence that this really helps me be productive. And what I mean is, and for a lot of us, the way to do it is with a calendar where you set out, okay, for the first 2 hours tomorrow, I'm going to do X. And then after that, for an hour, I'm going to do Y. And then I'm going to, take a lunch break and, maybe return some phone calls, answer some emails. Then from 1 to 3, I'm going to dig back in and I'm going to continue editing that book I'm working on. And then from 3 to 4, I've got a phone appointment. And then from 4 to 5, I'm going to go back, do some emails, return a couple calls. 5 till 6, I'm going to do this. And then at 6 o'clock, I'm calling it a day. That's compartmentalizing your time. And if you do that and stick to that, and you actually do the things during those periods of time that you set out to do, you will be floored by how much you can accomplish in, a typical day. Most of us are random. in what we do. We're just completely random, and I fall victim to that myself, and it's in part because of the volume of communication required in my for me to manage between email and phone calls and meetings and pushing people in the right direction and all the stuff that I mean that it's challenging for me to do this, but I force myself to, because I know how much more I accomplish when I do. So, how to achieve your goals. We're moving along here. Reflect and take pride in accomplishing each bite-sized piece. So, when you break your goals down, which we're going to do in a minute, I'll show you an example, and you accomplish one of those little bite-sized pieces that we're going to break it down to, good. Pat yourself on the back. Give yourself credit. Celebrate, because frankly, self-esteem comes from a series of those small bite-sized accomplishments all stacked one on top of the other. So, and some people think that self-esteem was something you developed as a child and you either have it or you don't have it. I'm calling BS on that. Self-esteem is something you continue to develop every day. Every day. And I can remember, I have great clarity on this. It wasn't until I was about 43 years old that I truly became what I call comfortable in my own skin. It was 43, I was 43 by the time my self-esteem reached a point of sort of even, level, where I suddenly felt comfortable in my own skin. And I've continued to, with these small or not small accomplishments, continue to stack them one on top of the other. And I continue to build my own personal self-esteem even now at this stage of my life. And I'm 54. Stay focused. Think about your goals often. That's, focus is not hocus pocus. I wrote a great article on that that's on the blog at CameronDirect.com. I'd encourage you to read it. Look at those pictures. If you have them on a goal board or on the background on your computer or your home screen on your phone, look at them over and over every day. And then let's break these goals down into daily and weekly tasks. Okay, so here's an example. Let's suppose that your goal is to make $300,000 in the next year doing real estate deals. Great. That's an example. If yours is different, plug in a different number. And if you have a pad and pen, follow along with me now, because I think this will be an eye-opener for you. So whatever that number is, put it there. For this example, we'll use $300,000. Now, ask yourself the next question, which is, what is the average profit per deal that you can reasonably expect? Now, you've got, maybe whichever exit strategy you have in mind, wholesale, rehab, whatever it is. What's the average, and this will depend somewhat on where you're doing business, which is one of the reasons I do business in multiple markets, because there are much bigger profit margins to be had in other markets than here. So you'll decide on that, but for the example, I said $25,000. So if you're in an expensive market, you could make 25 grand wholesaling a house easily. If you're in a cheap market, you might have to rehab the house to make the 25 grand. You follow my logic on that? So then we do the math. How many of those deals at that average profit will it take to achieve our goal? And in this case, it's 12. Okay, fine. So we're getting there. We need to do 12 deals to hit our goal of 300 grand with an average of 25 grand per deal. That is one deal per month. So that's the next thing. How many deals is that per month? This just happened to work out to be one. Might be more or less for you. So now we know what our big goal is, and we're breaking it down into small pieces. So we're going to go further, but we now know that given our numbers, we need to do one deal per month. Okay, so then the next question is, how many offers are we going to need to make in order to achieve each deal? So I said 5. Now, if you're brand new to the business, you might want to say 10 or 12. Or if you've got some experience, you may know that the number's less. Bottom line is, the longer you're at this, the fewer offers you'll make to get one accepted, because you'll just get very picky about the properties you make offers on. You'll get very good at knowing what it's going to take to get it bought, and so your acceptance ratio will go way, way up. For me now, I make, 2, maybe 3 offers for every one I get accepted. And believe me, that took time to get to, but so I said 5 in here just as an example. Okay, so that would be a total of 60 offers, 12 deals, 5 offers per deal, 60 offers to hit that goal. Now, if you think it's gonna take you 10, well, then it's 120 offers in a year. 120 offers in a year. So now we'll continue to break that down, and we now need to know, okay, how many offers do I need to make in a month to make this work? And it's 5. What if if it was going to take you 10 offers per deal? Well, then it would be 120 offers, which happens to be easily divisible by 12. That would be 10 offers per month. For this example, 5. 5 offers a month. Guys, there are super successful real estate investors, myself included, who make 5 offers a day. So run the formula in reverse. What if you made 5 offers a day? What would that bring your top line number to, given these assumptions? And oh, by the way, as you dig into this, if this is your goal, you obviously will want to make adjustments. If you learn that, okay, I thought it was going to take me 5 offers, it's taking me 10, adjust it. So now instead of making 5 a month, you need to make 10 to hit your goal. Or you learn that the average profit per deal is 30 grand. Good, don't change a thing. Or if you're inclined and you have the time, do more. So make those adjustments along the way as required. But I think I hope what I've done here is I've kind of presented this to you in a way that you can see where the old saying that the only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time is really true. I mean, to make that $300,000 goal, you need to know what you need to do today, this week. And now you do. And so when you do those things that you needed to do today and this week, you can feel really good about that. You can take stock in that, because now you're continuing along the path. You're holding yourself accountable. You're doing the things that are necessary in order to hit your goal. If you have a goal of making 300 grand in the next 12 months doing real estate deals, and you don't know what you need to do today or this week, the chances of you hitting that goal are very, very remote. And I hope that makes sense. We need to know what we need to be doing right now. And when we break our goals down into those bite-sized pieces, we do. So offers per week, that's 2. I'm always going to round in my favor. The thing is, 2 offers a week, you could work 50 hours at your job, have kids, softball, dance recitals, a spouse, a honey-do list, and easily make 2 offers in a week. Between 9 and 11 o'clock at night, you sit down, you do some research, you go online, you find some vacant houses, you make 2 offers a week in your spare time. There's nobody on this call who's so busy that they couldn't do that. Nobody. What could prevent you from achieving your goals? Well, there's all sorts of things, like having no system to do the work for you. And this is where software really comes into play. Software is so important in terms of leveraging our abilities and scaling our business, doing more business, generating more revenue without doing more work ourselves. That's what scaling our business is. More revenue without more work. And you've got to have a system in order to achieve that. Confusing busy with productive could definitely prevent you from achieving your goal, because there is a huge difference. Productive generates revenue. Busy might make you feel good. There's a big difference. Don't confuse the two. Wasting or misusing your time, uh, at some point, if you haven't already, you really need to come to grips with just how limited our time is, just how little time we have on this planet, and wasting or misusing it is frankly, I think, a huge mistake. Dream stealers, the people who will, you know, sabotage you or put you down or laugh at you if you tell them what your goal is or goals are. The people in your world who are toxic, the habits, the activities that are toxic, those are all dream stealers. Generally, dream stealers, in my mind, they're people, but there are activities and habits that are dream stealers as well. An inability to enjoy the finer things, you might actually feel guilty about that nice car or that nice house or putting your kid in the best school in your area. You might feel guilty about that, and that could prevent you from achieving your goals. There's no need to feel guilty. That is one of those, limiting beliefs that was planted in your head when you were little, probably, that you don't deserve it. You are worthy. I know you are. I just need to convince you that you are. And a great way to overcome that is to work your way up. So if your goal is to have that, that S550 Mercedes, well, maybe buy a C300 to begin with, and or lease it. Even better, now it's a tax deduction for your business, and drive it for 2 years, and then step it up, get yourself an E350. Drive that for a couple years, and then get the S550, and that's a great way to overcome this guilt thing. I've actually found that to be very useful in my life. A lack of focus could definitely prevent you from achieving your goals. We've got to stay focused. Procrastination, that's where you confuse what you need to do with what you want to do, and you're doing what you want to do instead of what you need to do. And the best thing I can suggest on that is use doing what you want to do as a reward for having done what you know you need to do. So go and do what you need to do for the next 4 hours, and then go play golf, go fishing, go whatever. Use the things that you want and love to do as a reward to yourself for being productive and for doing what you need to do. That has worked well for me. Self-talk and focus are huge positive affirmations. There is that one again. That's my favorite. Here are a few more that I've used over the years and continue to use. I'm a super successful real estate entrepreneur. I say that to myself all the time. I always achieve whatever goal I set for myself. I'm a millionaire that has yet to deposit the money in my bank account. I attract wealth to me. Those are all positive affirmations. And Earl Nightingale said something that's really profound, and frankly, they made a movie around it, that our life is a reflection of our most prominent thoughts. If you've seen the movie The Secret, then you know that movie was literally all about that quote right there. Those, 4, 6, 8, 9 words were the basis of the movie The Secret. And so what you're thinking about is what you experience. And if you're not liking what you're experiencing, start thinking about something different. Let's think about what we're thinking about. Ask yourself the right questions. How can I? How will I? Always be positive in how you ask. Okay, so I mentioned I'd give you some book, and these are available in audio format as well, recommendations. Here are some of the most profound books that I've read over the years and that are well worth your time. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. That is, I think that was written, almost 100 years ago. Without a doubt, the most powerful and profound self-improvement book that will be or has been ever written. I have probably read that book 10 times. In fact, I'm about due to read it again. Here's another one. Do it. Let's get off our butts. I love this book. We buy them in bulk, and we actually use them as a gift in my business because it's that profound. It was written by Peter McWilliams. It's on Prelude Press. You can get any of these on Amazon. Wealth 101, also by Peter McWilliams. This one, Do It, is all about let's go. It's time to go. It's time to hold yourself accountable. It's time to get to work. Let's do the things that you know you need to do. Wealth 101 is how to find those negative limiting financial beliefs in your mind and crush them. Both of these hugely profound in my life. Learned Optimism, phenomenal book by Martin Seligman. He is a PhD psychologist who is the father of cognitive psychology. Amazing book. If you find yourself, full of negativity and pessimism, read this one. I did at one time. I wasn't really that negative. Actually, this book was recommended to me by my dad, and I read it, and it blew my mind. The Magic of Thinking Big. This one's been around a while. It's by David Schwartz. I have an audio version of this. I've probably listened to it 30 times. Anything by Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, all well worth your time as far as setting and achieving your goals and living the life of self-improvement, daily self-improvement. Nightingale Conant is a great resource for audio versions of many of these books and others that are like them. Learn Out Loud and Audible, all of these are audio version or providers of audio versions of most books. I use Audible a lot now, and I have all sorts of Nightingale Conant programs as well. So that is the goal setting and accomplishment workshop. I hope you've enjoyed it. As we mentioned prior to this, there was absolutely nothing for sale here. I'm not here to pitch anything. This is about you. This is about you achieving your goals and getting to where you want to go and doing the things in your life that make you happy and and leaving a legacy. Leaving a legacy for your heirs. That's something that I think a lot about now. I'm at a stage in my life where I'm starting to look ahead and say, I really want to leave something special, when I'm done here. And so I hope you've enjoyed. You will find a recording of this presentation in two places. If you are a regular attendee of my Dealmaker webinars, you'll find that in the archive. And if you're not a Dealmaker webinar attendee, then you will find this recording at a special website we've set up called I Deserve to Be Healthy, Wealthy, and Happy.com. Imagine that. That, by the way, that might be the longest URL in internet history, but it was available. I Deserve to Be Healthy, Wealthy, and Happy.com. It is there that probably late tomorrow, maybe Thursday at the latest, you'll find this recording is available to you. What's there right now is last year's, and we'll update that with this newer one, and then this time next year in 2018, we'll do this again. So thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for taking time away from whatever else you might have been doing, during this presentation. I know that your time is valuable, and I hope that there were at least a few nuggets for you to take away from here, and I hope that those nuggets help you get to where you want to go. So until we meet again, thank you, and it's been my pleasure. I always enjoy doing this. We'll talk to you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.